Eastpointe City Council on Tuesday, July 18th at 7 p.m. Please rise for the invocation given by Councilwoman Sarah Lucido. Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God, we ask for your guidance as we undertake the business of our city, the city of Eastpointe. As we thank you for the many blessings you have given us, help us to lead our community with patience, tolerance, and understanding. We ask that you direct us to do what is best for all of our residents. It is in your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Here.
Councilmember Lucido?
Here.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Here.
Mayor Pixley?
Here. With that, we'll move into the first hearing of the public. Does anyone wish to be heard? This lady over here, please. Please state your name and speak directly into the mic.
Thank you. Not my favorite thing to do. Kim Van Gorder from 22462 Raven. Good evening. When I spoke at the last council meeting about getting an ordinance like the one Detroit has regarding the tethering of dogs, I should have been more specific, since Detroit's tethering ordinance is very involved. Specifically, I would like to see Eastpointe mirror this part of Detroit's ordinance, that the dogs cannot be tethered for longer than 3 hours. The fine for the first offense is $500. The fine for the second offense is another $500. If the dog is found tethered for a third time longer than 3 hours, the city will permanently remove the dog from the home. I find it hard to believe that people would want to incur a second $500 fine, so therefore they will either rehome or take the dog to a shelter where hopefully it will find a home where it will be taken care of, or they will start taking the proper care of their dog. Yesterday, the owner of the dog next door left. He has not returned. The dog has not been fed since yesterday. It spent its day baking in the sun. It spent its day today baking in the sun, and it was very hot today. It is heartbreaking to work in my garden and hear that dog crying and barking for hours and hours. It appears to the neighbors and myself that this bad owner needs something to get him motivated to either rehome or take care of his dog. With all due respect to this council and Madam Mayor, how would you feel if this was next door to you or even a few doors down from your house? Please consider enacting this ordinance. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Mr. Creech?
Madam Mayor, Council, residents, Harvey Creech, resident of Eastpointe. Well, you probably see, I've got this shirt and I had it made. I've talked to so many people and the rest of the stuff, and they asked me, do you work for the city or who are you? And I finally told them, I'm just going to make it real easy. I'm nothing. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a resident. I'm concerned for our dollars spent. I come to this meeting last Tuesday, and I asked the council if they would come up and please tell me where that $425,000 went in our capital. The budget was drawn. The council signed it. The money was there. I had a talk with Mike out in the parking lot at the end of the meeting, and I asked one question, the same as I asked my wife. You know, if you have a budget for $120 for your groceries, all of a sudden you don't have $120 because something come up. Whatever come up, you put on there for payment due, or the same thing about it. That $425,000 had to be spent or still in there, and I'm saying, here is, as I said, the 2 foils that I wrote, which I did get returned quite, it said right here, the budget breakdown for the money spent and the breakdown of the recreation and culture was $612,643. Well, I have that breakdown, and then the other one, as I said, the breakdown of the monies that was spent on a renovation of the Patriot Building, which was supposed to be $175,000. Well, graciously, the city sent it back to me. Thank you, Randy. We spent $15,245 on the Patriot Building with a budget for $175,000. What happened to the rest of the money? We spent on Memorial I added these up too. This is from Randy Blum. This is from your financial secretary. The money that was spent on Memorial was $14,916. If you don't add in the three, there's two categories in here. I don't know exactly where they come from, but they weren't on a renovation. That money was $14,916. We had a budget of $250,000. I just asked one simple question. Where'd the money go? Where's it at? It's supposed to be in the budget. And, you know, and indirectly, I got it back. And Randy, when you were talking to him, Cardi, you asked him about that.
You have 30 seconds.
Thank you. And you said Steve, the manager, made the decision. Did the manager make a decision, you know, not to do this? Right here, the library was made, and right here, I'll read you here. In 2013, restroom renovations was $40,116. We just spent.
Your time is up.
We just spent another one. We doubled. And I'll be back. Thank you. I'll be back.
Thank you, Mr. Creech.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to be heard? Ma'am?
I'm Pam Camerata. I'm on 21273 Beaconsfield. I've been in the city for about 18 years. I'm also here to talk about the possibility of getting the ordinance for the dogs that are tied up and that Ms. Van Gorder had spoke about. I'm aware of the dog that lives next to her. I've not seen the other one. I do know that the city has a dog park, so I know that you're concerned and understand how the citizens feel about their pets. So when we have somebody like that in the area, this does no good for us. This is not the proper way to take care of a dog. I think most of us would understand and know that. These are not dogs that are being used to protect the home. They can't protect a home because they're tied up in a backyard, tethered, and that's not protection. Nobody is afraid of that. My fear is for the animals who are left like this. This can't possibly be a pet to this person. I was listening to the radio today, and I heard a story, maybe you guys have heard it, about a dog that was walking with its owner, or walking the dog, and next to a pond or something, and a fawn had fallen in and couldn't get out. This dog knew that that's not right. A dog, an animal, went and rescued this fawn because they knew it was in an unsafe situation. So I think it's something we can do for the city. This is a great city. I like this city. I like it because it's city, but it's small town atmosphere. So I think, you know, if we want to keep that, we need to take care of things like this. It does no good for us to have that in the neighborhood. And if a dog can understand, we can certainly understand that this is not a way an animal should be treated. This animal needs to be saved. They need to be rescued. And I'm sure if there's two, there's many more. People just don't know what to do. If we come up with something, then, you know, we can let it know. Maybe things can be put out. Maybe people need help understanding how to take care of them animals. Maybe something can be put out, like, you know, do you understand that when it's 88 degrees out, a dog cannot be outside chained in the sun? It's not good. So that's all I wanted to say, and I really hope that you take this, you know, to heart and do some soul searching and some thinking on this for the city. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming forward. Anyone else wish to be heard? Mr. Curley?
Harvey Curley, City of Eastpointe. I was visualizing down the road, whenever that might be, when the council and mayor begins to interview people for the city manager's job, he or she, and I would assume eventually that person is going to ask, well, why was the previous city manager let go? Why was he fired? And I can just visualize perhaps that, Madam Mayor, two of your council people were quoted in a paper. I'm wondering if they'll say, well, as they did in a paper, well, he did a lot of great things for the city. He was always available when I called. always returned my calls, always answered my text messages and my email messages. And then also, but we want to go in a different direction. And I think we all understand and agree that we have been going up and as far as the direction is concerned for the last 6 years. So I can only assume by that statement that they want us to go either sideways or down, and that certainly is not acceptable.
Thank you, Mr. Curley. Mr. DeHunt?
John DeHunt, Eastpointe resident. I am wearing black today in mourning for good judgment. That seems to be missing a few times. First thing would be my crusade against the chickens. I have not made any secret of my disdain for chickens. I hope all of you read the front page of the Free Press today. And if you haven't, do so. There's a lovely article on salmonella and backyard chickens. So, first point there. Second point, piggybacking off of what Mr. Curley has said, how do you fire somebody with the credentials, or essentially let this person go who has the credentials that Steve Duchesne had? To my knowledge, there has not been one corrective action taken against him. There has not been any sort of findings, I would assume, that he's done something unethical. The man had experience that none of us could ever imagine. I can't help but think that there's some personality issues maybe that went on. How do you give somebody a fantastic review, or essentially a fantastic review, and then suddenly shift gears and say, oh no, we're going to go in a different direction? And I have to reiterate what Mr. Curley has said. My property values have gone up. I see people making huge investments, companies making huge investments into this community. We're fully funded, to my knowledge. We have a full police and fire, to my knowledge. I don't see how we're going we need to go in a different direction. We need to continue to get better. We're never going to be Ferndale. We're never going to be Royal Oak. We are Eastpointe. We need to forge our own personality. We cannot mirror what other communities are doing. You know, it's lovely to have this chicken ordinance. How many thousands of dollars did this council approve to spend writing an ordinance that, to my knowledge, nobody has pulled a permit to take advantage of? But yet we have a chicken ordinance, and nobody's done anything with it. You know, we have a beautiful building on Stevens in a military museum that if you see any more than 6 cars there at any one time on a weekend, that's a lot. And how many of those people actually work there? You've got a resource there that's not being utilized for $1 a year that could be taken back into the city. There's so many opportunities to do things within the city, but yet we're doing away with talent. We're putting bizarre things in, such as chickens. You know, if you told me that 50 people were going to move to the city of Eastpointe because we had a backyard chicken ordinance, God bless, I'm right there.
You have 30 seconds.
But I don't see it happening. We need to stay in our lane. We need to continue to get better. We need to be attractive to people, and that needs to be it. We should not worry about going and trying to be something we're not. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Peak?
Good evening, excuse me. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Shirley Peak. The majority of the council made it very clear at the last meeting that they want the city to go into a different direction. In my opinion, the only direction the city is going to go into is down into the hands of a financial manager. It's a shame. I question the actions of the majority of this council that voted to fire Steve Duchesne. The same people who fired him turned around and had nothing but good things to say about him. That's talking out of both sides of the mouth. It makes me wonder what the real reasons were for firing him. In my opinion, I believe that the majority of this council was influenced by outside sources. Who or what the outside sources are, that's what I would like to know, and also what I believe the residents would like to know. It makes you wonder how such a big decision could happen to get done so quick with the support so quickly.
If there was discussion outside of official meetings, would that be a violation of open meeting rules? By wanting to go into a different direction, it is, and if it's the intent to be like other cities, and if that is the reason, it seems to be better for the people to move on and leave our city as it is, and everyone would be happy. We all deserve answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Peak. Mr. Wolf?
Good evening, Patrick Wolf, Eastpointe resident. I was coming on behalf of my neighbor to the right of me on my street. He had some work done recently to prevent his house from falling in, basically because of the foundation had given way. And they had to have some major restoration work done. Well, the crew that was doing it was licensed, the permit was pulled, everything was done according to what was relayed to me. However, apparently the day when the big stuff started, as far as the concrete pieces that were needed to be hauled away, there were some smaller but bulkier pieces in these tubs that were provided by the company sitting on the I guess it'd be the easement, or not the small grass on the other side of the sidewalk. And there's crew plain in sight, but yet a city car came out, and started to automatically write a citation or a notice or warning or something without even stopping to ask, are you going to be clawing this away today, or without just automatically just writing and tacking it to the gentleman's door. And the contractor that was the supervisor that was on the job tried to talk to the city employee, but whoever that was, but to no avail. It was, hey, they're in violation regardless if you're hauling it away today. So my neighbor was extremely upset over the fact. And I said, well, okay, maybe there's got to be a better answer to this. And I'm thinking, this is just an idea, that maybe we could, you know, how you put out in the water bills, Randy, about certain things, maybe you might want to put a Eastpointe residents, you're having some kind of extensive work done, let us know in advance, so that way, you know, if a city inspector's coming by, they say, okay, stop, check with the person that's doing the work. That way, there would be an easier solution than the resident getting upset. I come with solutions, not usually complaints.
So, Mr. Wolf, can you be sure and give Linda your address and maybe whether your neighbor lives to the right or the left of you, so we can
Certainly.
follow up on that, please?
I would be happy to, but I was just, you know, maybe that's an idea that, you know, hey, if we could put something out, Eastpointe residents, if you're having major work done in your house or property, let us know in advance, the way we can have an idea of heads up, hey, okay, certain so-and-so at 18114 Rosetta is having work done. Okay, we know about this.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else wish to be heard at this time? All right, first hearing of the public is closed. We'll move on to approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of July 11th, 2017. Can we have a motion to that effect?
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of July 11th, 2017.
Support.
Move and support. Any corrections? Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes. We have no scheduled hearings tonight. We only have one item under unfinished business, and that's the second reading and the adoption of ordinance number 1142. And if you note the corrections at the last meeting, the chickens had not been entered, and they are there under building. And they are highlighted in yellow
Page 3.
Oh, yeah.
on page 3. So I think that was the only correction that we had for it. So I would entertain a motion for approval.
Madam Mayor, I'll give second reading to adopt ordinance number 112, which replaces the existing city fee schedule.
Oh, 1142, right?
Yeah, 1142.
Support.
Move with support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
We'll start with reports from administration, and our first item is our Assistant City Manager, Mr. Altimus.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just reference to the two ladies that were about the tethering, I did start to go out to research that, so if I can find that ordinance, I will certainly pass it along, unless you can find it quicker than I could, but, because she'd made mention that Warren had it, and I didn't find it at Warren, so.
I think
Okay.
Detroit.
Detroit has
Yeah,
it.
she said Detroit and Warren, so I thought I'd start with the smaller ordinance book first, but I didn't see anything in Warren, so. Yesterday, the move for the new election equipment started. The old election equipment was picked up by ES&S, and we are hoping that next month we will start training and receive the new equipment. So they were still waiting for the state of Michigan to issue the PO to purchase. So as soon as that happens, make a note so you folks can come see the new equipment, see what it looks like. I've seen it from afar. I haven't got to touch one yet, so I'm looking forward to starting that process. So outside of that, unless folks have a question, it's trying to keep it quiet.
I had a couple questions. When are we receiving an update on the PRV issue from July 1st? For
I believe they are still looking at that. Are you and Tony meeting on that still? Okay. Hopefully soon. I know there's been a lot of discussion going back and forth on it, so.
like another week or two, or like a month?
You think, I don't know where you're at. I haven't had a chance to talk to Tony.
Probably a month.
Okay.
Okay.
I know he's hooked up some electrical connections so he can, if he feels a storm is coming, he takes the generator down and parks it down there, so.
I see it's just sitting there.
Yeah, he's not gonna let it happen again.
And then my other question related to that was, you mentioned last week at our meeting, delays with Nixle. Were you specifically talking about on July 1st, this last time, or just in the?
We've noticed it a couple times where we've sent out even just announcements about special events or something that we use Nixle for. I might receive it, say, at 9 o'clock, and you might receive it at 9:30, 10 o'clock. We've noticed some of those delays. We're not 100% sure why, unless it's just the system. And sometimes they just come in simultaneously, so.
But what about July 1st, though?
July 1st, there was a delay. I showed on my, I wasn't in town, but, I showed it on my text messaging that it came in about the time Bill had sent it out, and then somebody else at staff got it 30 to 45 minutes later.
And we sent it out at 3 in the morning.
So, yeah, there was quite a discrepancy on that. So.
Well, no, but if you go online and just look on Nixle's page that's online, it said it was submitted 9:52 a.m., not 3 in the morning.
Well, we would have to check with the police officers, so we'll follow up on that, so we give the correct information to you. Because the police officer, and I did double check with him, we sent the information out at 5 minutes to 3, and I called him at 5 minutes after 3 and asked if Nixle had been notified.
I only know about the one I got, and again, I was out of town, so it was just
So
one of those
When
conversations.
we had a breather in the moment when Steve called and talked specifically to someone related to it. So we'll be sure to include it in the final report.
Okay. That was all I had.
Anything else for the city manager? Let's go on to our finance director.
I have nothing specific tonight, so any questions? Go ahead.
So have you answered Mr. Creech's questions?
The information was provided.
So he's asking the amount of money that was provided in the budget. Is he talking about the 16 2015-16 or 2016-17?
The request, one request was for how much was spent out of the CIP fund for 16-17 on Spindler, the Patriot Building renovation. The other request was how much was spent for recreation and culture for, again, the 16-17 budget year, which was really just the parks portion.
So, did we provide Mr. Creech with the audit results for that particular, for our capital improvement?
Well, no, audits, we're talking 16-17, so that doesn't happen until October.
Okay,
So, yeah, there's nothing to provide at this point.
because at that point, we should know where the money went and how much was utilized out of that fund.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reality is money didn't go anywhere because we didn't spend it. It was budgeted, but we didn't spend it. So, and that's part of the, I think the disconnect is it didn't get transferred into some piggy bank and it's sitting in this piggy bank. It just was never transferred there because we didn't do the projects.
And that's my thought as well, and I think he didn't understand that concept.
Right.
Would you mind sending us just a copy of what he has so we know what he's
Okay.
looking at when?
And then my one question was something Councilman Marion used to bring up once in a while at a meeting. I believe we have another description in the check register that, well, I'll assume is not 100% accurate unless we bought a chair for the city manager that was $770.07. Says chair dash city manager from Interior Environments 113808.
I'll let the assistant city manager answer that one because I'm pretty sure it was a chair. Was a heavy-duty one.
That you
That he-
sit in? $770 chair?
I don't know if that has multiple on it. I might have to take a look at it. But yeah, those chairs are expensive. And the heavy-duty chairs, even the ones if you see in the budget that I put to replace in conference room B, are several $100s a piece. And just to keep them from.
These chairs were 5 or 6.
Yeah. Yeah, they're expensive.
Okay. I think we should look
I'm
at
assuming,
chairs, but
Well, we did. Unfortunately, that's the fourth one we've had to provide because of, how big and tall Steve is. We literally have gone through 3 chairs. So, and I had the last one he had reupholstered and it's still broke. So, yeah, they're not cheap by any stretch of the imagination.
okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Let's move on to our city attorney, Mr. Albright.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. I do not have a report for anything to report this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions that the members of council may have.
well, I'm interested in the tethering ordinance that they've been speaking about, and I was wondering if council would feel comfortable just go ahead and directing city attorney to draft something for us to work from.
Absolutely.
agree, I think it's a great idea.
On board? I'd be happy to do that. I know, and I forget the resident's name, but she did initially contact both myself, and I think actually she contacted the city manager first, and then he responded back and included both my name and Mary Van Haren's name on that. And then I got in touch with her and had a nice conversation with her, and she explained to me what she wanted to do, and I informed her that it may be a good idea if she came to a council meeting and brought that to the council's attention. That's actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it was last Tuesday in the morning when I spoke to her, and I let her know that there was actually a council meeting that evening, and then she said she would be there, so. But yes, I'd be happy to prepare a proposed ordinance.
So Ken, right now, the police department, we can't really enforce anything? Or like if you just have your dog chained up in the backyard, well, there's nothing,
What we've traditionally done is the city does have an animal cruelty ordinance, and I know I've prosecuted under that before, especially in cold conditions where an animal, or a dog rather, is outside without any type of shelter. They put a water dish out there, but of course it freezes because of the temperature, and it doesn't have any type of shelter with hay or anything like that, and they leave it out for many, many hours. And so we have prosecuted dogs that have been left in those types of conditions, but there is, as is right now, there is nothing regarding tethering.
But this is just the opposite with temperature and in the heat, and it's gonna be so much hotter in the
Just as
next
deadly.
couple days,
Yes.
and we can't do anything.
I would advise that if a resident does see an animal that's out for prolonged periods of time, and it looks to be in distress, to contact the police department or animal control, and they will send out either an officer or the animal control officer, depending on the time of day, to conduct an investigation to see if the animal is indeed in distress. Sure. Okay. Yes, I'll prepare a draft ordinance.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And will you be providing an update on the DOJ in the not-too-distant future?
Well, I always include an update in my monthly status report. As far as any particular updates, we're just kind of in the mundane discovery, fact-finding process right now, where the city has been providing the Department of Justice with thousands of pages of documents that they have requested. They have an expert deadline coming up in approximately 3 weeks, and they will be required then to disclose what expert reports their experts are relying on to support the allegations in the complaint. As soon as I get a copy of that, I'll certainly circulate that to the members of council. But we're just in the discovery phase right now.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Unless anybody else had anything else for Mr. Albright?
Oh, that's it.
Thank you.
We'll move on to new business, and the first item is the bid award for the Eastpointe City Hall parking lot improvements. Mr. Pangori is here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Last Tuesday, July 11th, the city received bids for the City Hall parking lot improvement project. 4 bids were received. The low bidder was Nagel Paving in the amount of $184,933. We are recommending that the bid for that project be awarded to Nagel.
All right. Mr. Altimus, do you want to talk about the funding of this, that it was in our capital budget, our capital improvement?
Yes, we put it in for the capital improvement. Also, the council should be aware is the bulk of the money will be coming out of the Building Authority Fund. We have to spend down our Building Authority monies, and the Building Authority felt that we have basically 2 major assets. One is this building, and the other one is that parking lot. So when I wrote my write-up on the financial impact, you can see that not only are we covering out of the Building Authority money, engineering, surveying, and testing, also we're covering about $104,000 of that build.
Just like I said last meeting, I think we have much higher priority projects, and I wish this would have been brought forward before we went out to bid. I don't know how the rest of council feels, but I know we talked about where the funding comes from last meeting, out of the, general fund or local and major streets, but I don't think this is a project we needed to do now when we have, I don't know if you've driven down Roxanne or Johnston. They're not in good shape.
Well, just so the council's aware, the Building Authority money can only be used for this complex. I can't use it for anything else, no roads.
Sure, 100,000's coming from
Right.
capital improvement, though.
I did want to ask about the spend, what happens if you don't spend it down? I mean, would you just
what did
throw
that mean?
more money at the bond or something?
Well, right now, I think
That might be more.
Finance Director Blum can answer that, but we are obligated to spend that down right now. So.
Yeah, it can only be either spent paying off the debt or on improvements to this property. At the time, we went and refinanced the bond, which is going to be actually taken care of October 1st. We've already refinanced this building. There was money left. The decision was made to do 3 projects. The Building Authority decided $150 towards the parking lot. There was, I want to say, $30,000 towards a fountain, and then there was some money for some benches in the hallway. Because we have already refinanced, we don't have the ability to use this money to pay the bond because there's no more bond payment. So it can only be used at this point on this building, and we have to use it by October 1st when the bonds are called. because at that point, this building will be quit claim from the building authority back to the city of Eastpointe. So whether it's spent on a parking lot or something else, it has to be spent by October 1st on this property here. And that, as far as a need for this building, that was the highest priority for this building, was that parking lot. We have drainage issues and cracking and settling, and this project will take care of all that. We also have some lighting and security issues and things like that, security camera issues that'll be addressed.
We're also going to handle the traffic flow in the parking lot. As we've talked before, traffic flow in this parking lot is dangerous. I'm surprised somebody hasn't been run over at this point, but we're looking at more of angle parking versus straight-in parking. So we're going to change the whole traffic flow at the same time.
So in the beginning of the year, we went over the capital improvement budget. We went over the capital improvements, and this was itemized in that particular,
Yes.
and it was part of that, correct?
Correct,
And the council
correct.
did vote on it at that time, correct?
Correct.
I have a couple questions for Mr. Pangori. Sorry about that.
All right.
This project that you're going to be doing is not just a resurfacing of the problem. You're actually going to be tearing it apart and putting in additional drainage, is that?
Yes. To go into a little more detail, all of the asphalt will be removed. Any of the damaged curbing that's around the lot will be removed and replaced. Any cracked sidewalk that's adjacent to the parking lot out here in the front will also be removed and replaced. We're going to be adding under drain, substantial amount of additional under drainage to the parking lot to keep the base material drier. Any failed base material will be replaced. Project is very similar to what was done at the police court building a couple of years ago. There'll also be conduit installed for security camera upgrades on all the existing light poles, conduit for future electric vehicle charging stations, and then the lot will be paved. We're going to be actually adding an additional inch of thickness of asphalt. The original design was only for 3 inches of asphalt. We feel that 4 is more sufficient. So that additional inch of asphalt will be added, and then the parking lot will be restriped. As Mr. Altimus indicated, we are changing the configuration slightly. It's going to be angled parking in a clockwise position around the lot. So the islands will be reconfigured a little bit to facilitate the angled parking. It will make use of the lot much easier. There'll also be a delivery space added up close to the building so that delivery vehicles aren't parked in the middle of the access aisle to deliver stuff to City Hall.
And how long do you anticipate it will take to resurface this, or redo it?
We're estimating no more than 3 weeks' time. We've given the contractor 2 windows of opportunity, and that would be starting in early August, but completing by the end of the month. Or they can wait until after September 6th, I believe was the date, after...
The Wednesday after the tax bill due date.
And then giving them another window from then till the end of September to start and finish during that window. Obviously, the project hasn't been awarded yet, so we have not met with the contractor. We're not sure what window they've picked. One of the reasons why we added the September window was because many of the contractors that do this type of work also do school work, and they are swamped until Labor Day. So we wanted to give another opportunity for the guys that do school work to be able to bid on this project. And as you can see by the numbers, our estimate was $210,000. We got some pretty good bids and pretty good numbers. And I can tell you, if you do choose to wait, the project will not get any cheaper. It will continue to increase in cost.
Mr. Altimus, what are you going to do with the people that ordinarily park in the parking lot? What are you going to do while the parking lot is being redone?
We've approached the church across the way, and they've given an indication that we will be able to use some of their lot. That's why we kind of like the August date versus the September, because it's before school starts. We've also been talking to some more neighbors We've talked to Enterprise to see if they're amenable for us to use the lot across there, plus we have all the parking around the building for residents. And then from there, you know, we're still working on that aspect of it. We haven't got commitment yet, but I also don't have a date to talk to them about yet. So as soon as I have a date, or if the council decides to go ahead and award, we'll then sit down with our neighbors to see if they can help us out a little bit.
And if anything, if things go as well as they did at the police court, I believe they finished that project in 2 weeks. So it's a very similar size and scope of project. Actually, I think the cost of the police court one was a little more than this one. So I'm anticipating the best.
What's the life expectancy once, if we do this and put in, how long should that parking lot last before it might need to be done again?
Typically 20 years if it's maintained.
Okay.
I think we've had problems almost from the very beginning, have we not? Because of the amount of drainage and because of we've redone it twice?
It hasn't been completely resurfaced. There's been numerous repairs made. From my understanding, the original material, the original base material out there was a lot of fill that existed there. So the base of the parking lot wasn't the greatest.
And there was not that much drainage put into it either, as I recall.
Right. We're not increasing the number of catch basins, but we are adding a substantial amount of under drains.
Okay.
Does that assume this lot's only 10 years old then, right?
Approximately.
2008.
Okay. So we're
Yeah, when we dug up or cut out around the catch basins, we noticed at that time that either whatever was under the base that because they hauled in a lot of base, because I stood there and watched it, but we hauled out a lot of topsoilish type material out of where the old parking lot was.
Seems to have been a theme for the municipal parking lots back in the 50s when they were built. We found a similar situation at the library a number of years ago when that lot was redone.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Yeah, we ended up digging, 6, 8 feet down in a couple spots, then bring it up with fabric to secure it. We're built on a farm. At least that's what it looks like.
Yeah, this was a farm.
Former lake bed that was a farm.
And we do, unfortunately, have a river running underneath this complex.
Oh, sorry.
Will you make a motion?
I just want to ask one more thing. Mr. Blum, not trying to get you to repeat yourself, so I think you said we have to spend the building authority funds by October 1st?
Correct.
What happens if we didn't?
I don't know. I really do. I'm planning on spending it, so I don't want to have to find out.
This is the part I don't understand either. I don't, you don't, like, what?
Well, I haven't looked into it because we never intended on having money left. I mean, if this project hadn't been approved in the budget, we would have used it as part of last year's debt payment. But because it was in the budget, the assumption was we were going to spend the money on these projects. So now we're kind of in a bind because there's no more debt payment to make. It has to be now spent on this building in some form or fashion.
But we can't just wait till the next time there's.
As of October 1st, the building authority debt will be redeemed with the refinancing that we did, and the building authority will no longer own this building, so it can't spend money on the building that it won't own.
Okay.
So we're in a bit of a time crunch now. If we weren't going to do this, it should have come out of the budget last year when we were talking about it.
I don't recall, well, we should have maybe mentioned this.
Well, it's still a good way. I mean, again, we have the two biggest investments in this complex is this building and the parking lot. And I can't think of a better way to utilize the money to keep the asset.
Okay. I mean, I wasn't entirely sure how I felt about it because I walked around the parking lot and I was like, maybe it could stand to a year or two more. But the fact that it will get more expensive, and I'd rather be proactive and fix it because I think the danger of not keeping assets up is you wait until our buildings are falling apart and then you have too many projects to do at once. So, with that said, I will make the motion to award the Eastpointe City Hall parking lot improvements to Nagel Paving Company out of Novi, Michigan for $184,933 with contingency amount of $14,400 with the total project cost of $199,333 and authorize the Assistant City Manager to execute all documents necessary to the contract.
Do we have support?
Support?
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pangori. Move on to item B is the police patrol vehicle purchase. Do we have a motion, please?
Sure, Madam Mayor, I'll motion to utilize the 2017 Macomb County Cooperative Bid Contract and approve the purchase of the new 2017 Ford Utility All-Wheel Drive Police Interceptor Patrol Vehicle from Signature Ford, 1960 East Main Street, Owasso, Michigan, 48867, in the amount of $30,730, with additional costs of approximately $9,500 for changeover and equipment for the vehicle, and authorize the Assistant City Manager to execute all necessary documents related to this purchase.
Support.
Move to support. Any questions?
Now, appreciate, though, Director, for including all the details about it, though, in the,
Please call the roll.
in here.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes. We'll move into the second hearing of the public. Does anyone wish to be heard at this time? Mr. Creech.
Oh.
I'm sorry, we need payroll and bills. You can wait 1 minute.
Just flip the page.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve payment of the bills in the amount of $1,605,867.64.
I always get scared to
Support.
spend money when Mr. Creech comes up. All right. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
All right. Second hearing of the public, Mr. Creech.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to back up just for a second, the gentleman was standing right here talking about that parking lot. That 2 weeks after I met Steve Duchesne, the gentleman you're gonna throw out and the rest of the stuff that you don't like anymore, we stood out there in that parking lot. In 2008, I told him, you have rivers that run underneath this parking lot. This was a farm. When they did that parking lot, it was wrong then and it's wrong now. You're gonna have to undercut it again. At least I got Steve for the retention and the rest of the stuff to put the cement out there. I'm not gonna say you people, either you're late for lunch or you're not on time. There's a lot of this stuff that was discussed before too. That parking lot is less than 10 years old. We have roads over there in Spindler right now that are less than 2 years old that are busted all to pieces because of asphalt. When you ask the gentleman, 20 years, it can't happen. Because if you're not going to maintain it, that's what happened to this parking lot. It's only been caulked one time. If you don't maintain the stuff, I expect it to last. I'm sorry for really getting this upset. I know my wife is, but why do we do things like this? We throw bad money after good. I want to talk about the same thing about this right here on our recreation budget. I can't believe this too right here. I've got a breakdown here from Randy, which was really nice. We've got bills in here. I love this. Right here, I'll read you one. Star Mechanical, remove furnace, ducts, and electrical. Where? There's an invoice number, cost us $5,000. $4,009. There's a lot of stuff on here for invoices. Somebody's making checks, you know, I'm not gonna say we're not making checks we can't cash. And I understand that that parking lot's gonna come from authority money. I asked for authority money to fix some of the stuff that was wrong in this building before. We didn't get it then. Now you wanna spend it? The money is there. The money's in the authority. It's not coming. But when I talked to Randy and he said all this money, there again too, Randy, I'll see you because you said the money's still in the general fund. When you take these funds like the CIP and you put them in the general fund, no, you don't do that. You break these funds down where the money's gonna be there. He's still saying the rest of the I don't want to say he. Randy's still saying the rest of that $425,000 is still in there from the capital improvement. I want to see it. He said, if you rolled it over, did you roll it over to the 2018 budget? Cardi, I mean, we discussed, you know, Cardi, I give you a lot of credit when you first come on board because you checked a lot of these bills. Now I don't know if anybody's checking them or not. Money's going out of here. I mean, I can read, I love this one right here. Landscape paver repairs, $900. What pavers? Where'd they go? Who repaired what? You want to see them? Randy did not try to hide anything. That's why he didn't try to hide a thing.
He can't answer your question.
I understand this, Mayor, but I just want the rest of these people too. He didn't try to hide anything. I'm asking the council, I'm asking somebody, when it says come to headhunting, maybe I have to go to headhunting. I met with a lot of people, and all I want is answers, people, please. When we come up here, the same thing about it. I want to know where that money went. I want to know where our DPW money goes. Because the water bill just went up 30%. Are we paying the same? Are they paying for the water and the sewage that comes out of the DPW on that batch plant that we've got behind there?
You have 30 seconds.
There's so many questions that I really want to know and come up to. I'm just going to keep writing for you, after for you, after for you, until the answers get answered. And I said, I hope, excuse me for saying this, I hope the new people that's running for this council wants to come down here and have got the gut and got the gall to go ahead and ask some of these questions and get some answers. Because I'm asking you, I've went as far as I could go. They said, come to the council.
Your 30 seconds are up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Creech. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else wish to be heard? Seeing none, the second hearing of the public is closed. We'll start with mayor and council reports. Let's start with Mr. Kleinfeld.
The only thing I wanted to mention tonight is to remind those watching that at our last meeting, we decided not to fill the vacancy and to just let the person be elected this November. So just a reminder that you don't need to put in a resume or a cover letter. We won't be filling that seat. And that's all.
Thank you. Mrs. Lucido?
I just have a couple of things to report that are going on at the library. First of all, Thursday, July 20th at 2 p.m., Cat Orlando Duo will be performing some Motown favorites. And then also that same day at 6:30 p.m., we'll be Laughing at the Library. Local comedian Mo Owens will be there performing Keeping It Real. Also, Thursday, July 27th at 2 p.m., Jackie and Gary will be performing folk music at the library. Hopefully you guys can all make it out. Hopefully the weather holds out for them also if it's outside. And that will be it for this evening.
Thank you. Mr. DeMonica?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Just first of all, tomorrow, 6:30, Music in the Plaza here at City Hall. And then just wanted to say a happy 4th anniversary to my wife, Alyssa. We just shared that a few days ago. And then just again, open to discussing again, I mean, anything with residents, but especially regarding the city manager. Again, email address cdemonico@eastpointcity.org if you prefer that method, or just give me a call on my cell phone, 586-744-3864. 744-3864. Happy to talk to anyone. That's all, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to compliment the police department. Today at the PACE meeting, Pastor Kevin Lancaster came forward and said that at the carnival last week that our police department did an outstanding job, and there were so many outside people that were there and witnessed our police officers being so kind to the residents and still maintaining a secure situation. So he also extended his congratulations or thankfulness to you, Chief, and to Eric Kaiser for working with them and developing a plan that eliminated any type of potential problems. So thank you very much for your help. Also, the crews, we did receive letters at the crews office thanking you and all of your officers for the help. People came from outside of the city, and they were very, very impressed with the lack of problems that we had during the cruise, during the whole entire cruise week. So again, please thank all your officers for that. Tomorrow, again, like Hardy mentioned, is Music in the Plaza. And then on Saturday is Praise in the Park. Praise in the Park, this will be, correct me, how many years? 8 years? We haven't done it in the last 4 years, but I think this is probably about the 8th time where all the churches in the city, multiple churches in the city come together for an afternoon and free food, and it's a great time. and we encourage people to go out. It's on Saturday from 3 to 6 at Kennedy Park. Always a good event, always a really good event. And that's all I have for tonight. I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Support.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Please adjourn.